What is it about being scared that we love so much? We build entire theme parks around it, tell ghost stories by the campfire, and of course, we play survival horror games. But what makes a survival horror game truly terrifying? Is it the jump scares? The gruesome monsters? Or is it something deeper, something more psychological? Today, we're going to dissect the anatomy of fear and explore what makes survival horror one of the most compelling genres in all of gaming. Let's start at the beginning. You could argue the roots of survival horror go way back, but for video games, the term was popularized with the release of the original Resident Evil in 1996. It wasn't the first game to feature horror elements, not by a long shot. Games like Alone in the Dark laid the groundwork years earlier. But Resident Evil codified the formula. Limited resources, claustrophobic environments, puzzle solving, and of course, zombies. It created a potent cocktail of tension and dread. You weren't a super soldier mowing down enemies. You were just a person vulnerable and desperately trying to stay alive. Every bullet counted. Every health item was a precious lifeline. This deliberate disempowerment is a core pillar of classic survival horror. The game isn't just challenging you. It's actively working to make you feel weak and helpless. The fixed camera angles in early Resident Evil and Silent Hill games weren't just a technical limitation. They were a design choice. They controlled what you could and couldn't see, building suspense by hiding threats just off screen. The sound of shuffling feet or a distant groan becomes infinitely more terrifying when you can't see what is making it. Then came Silent Hill. If Resident Evil was a B-movie horror flick, full of campy dialogue and jump scares, Silent Hill was a psychological art house thriller. It took the fear inward. The monsters weren't just random creatures. They were manifestations of the protagonist's own trauma and guilt. The town itself was a character, shifting and decaying to reflect the psychological state of whoever entered it. The fog wasn't just for atmosphere. It was a suffocating blanket of uncertainty. The radio static that crackled to life whenever a monster was near became an iconic sound of impending doom. Silent Hill proved that what we can't see, what we can only imagine, is often far scarier than what's right in front of us. It wasn't about surviving a zombie outbreak. It was about confronting your own inner demons. This shift towards psychological horror opened up a whole new dimension for the genre. The fear was no longer just about external threats, but about the fragility of the human mind. As technology evolved, so did survival horror. The jump to full 3D and over-the-shoulder perspectives, popularized by Resident Evil 4, changed everything. Suddenly, the action was faster, more dynamic. Some purists argued that this shift sacrificed horror for action. And in some ways, they were right. Leon Kennedy in RE4 is a far more capable hero than Chris Redfield in the original. You have more ammo, more moves, and you can suplex villagers. But Resident Evil 4 replaced the old-school tension with a new kind of panic. The feeling of being overwhelmed by a horde of ganados, desperately trying to manage a frantic crowd, was a different but equally effective type of fear. It was the horror of chaos, of losing control in the face of an unrelenting onslaught. This game was a masterclass in pacing, perfectly balancing moments of high-octane action with quiet, eerie exploration. It proved that survival horror could evolve without losing its soul. But what about when the survival part is taken to its extreme? What if you can't fight back at all? This is the central idea behind games like Amnesia: The Dark Descent. In Amnesia, you have no weapons. Your only options are to run and to hide. This complete and total helplessness is a terrifying experience. The game even has a sanity mechanic. Staring at monsters or staying in the darkness for too long will cause your character's sanity to drop, resulting in distorted vision and auditory hallucinations. The game is literally messing with your head. You start to distrust your own senses. Was that a real sound? Or am I just going crazy? This style of hide-and-seek horror became incredibly popular, spawning countless imitators. It taps into a very primal fear, the fear of being hunted by something you cannot possibly defeat. The only resource you have to manage is your own courage. Another brilliant evolution came with Alien Isolation. This game gave us a single, persistent, and incredibly intelligent antagonist, the Xenomorph. Unlike the scripted enemies in most games, the alien in Isolation has a dynamic AI. It learns from you. It adapts to your strategies. If you hide in lockers too often, it will start checking them. If you use the flamethrower to scare it away, it will become more aggressive and less easily deterred. This creates an unparalleled sense of dread. You are not just playing against a program. You are playing against a predator. The creature isn't just a monster that appears at scripted moments. It is an ever-present threat, stalking you through the corridors of the Sevastopol station. You can hear it moving in the vents above you, its footsteps echoing through the metal halls. The fear comes from its unpredictability. You are never, ever safe. This was a monumental achievement in game design, creating perhaps the most believable and terrifying single enemy in gaming history. Of course, the genre is constantly branching out. We have modern masterpieces like Resident Evil 7, which brought the series back to its terrifying roots with a claustrophobic first-person perspective, making every encounter feel personal and visceral. It blended the body horror of a slasher film with the slow-burn dread of its predecessors. We have indie gems that experiment with unique mechanics and narrative structures, pushing the boundaries of what a horror game can be. Games that use sound design, environmental storytelling, and psychological tricks to create fear without ever showing you a monster. The horror comes from the atmosphere, the story, and the unsettling feeling that something is just wrong. These games prove you don't need a huge budget or photorealistic graphics to be scary. All you need is a deep understanding of human psychology. So what's the common thread? Whether it's managing scarce resources, confronting psychological demons, running from an overwhelming horde, or hiding from an unkillable foe, the core of survival horror is vulnerability. It's about taking away the player's power and forcing them to confront a situation that feels hopeless. The best survival horror games make you feel small, weak, and alone in the dark. They play on our most fundamental fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of losing control, the fear of our own mortality. It's an adrenaline rush, a puzzle, and a psychological test all rolled into one. And that's why we love it. We love the challenge of overcoming our fear, of surviving against all odds, and of emerging from the darkness back into the light. What are your favorite survival horror moments? What game truly terrified you? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the genre, consider giving this video a like and subscribing for more content. Thanks for watching, and try not to have nightmares.